Okay guys, interesting news from Iceland, from Grindavik and the Icelandic Meteorological Office. I mean, one can dream, right? Dream big, never give up hope. So it seems the residents of Grindavik and also the Prime Minister still have the dream that life in the town can go back to normal and that maybe Grindavik will be what it once was. That's at least what they're saying, but is that realistic, guys? In light of a new eruption that's lurking and according to the scientists could start at any second, at any minute without warning. And we know that the eruptions started to move more south from eruption to eruption. And we know what is south of the Sudnuka crater series, south of Hagafell, you see it here in the map. That is the beautiful little town of Grindavik that has been shaken and rumbled by earthquakes, fault lines, fissures, cracks that opened, building tilted, buildings burned down by lava flows, basically since November 10th, and now it could get even worse. We know that the last eruptions did really test the defense walls that they have built in Grindavik, but also in Swartsengi, and we know that the experts said the next eruption, when that happens, it's going to be even more difficult to defend Grindavik and to defend Swartsengi and the Blue Lagoon, the Swartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon. I mean, we know the magma chamber that is filling up right now, it is right underneath Swartsengi. And that magma chamber has already reached the upper limit of what that magma chamber usually has reached before it sends out magma to cause a new eruption or an intrusion. So it keeps sending the magma into the Sudnuka crater series most of the time. So what is the Icelandic Meteorological Office saying? Because it is rumbling a bit more, so the seismic activity is increasing steadily. So this is something that shows us it is imminent. So they are reporting in their latest update of today that the number of earthquakes that they have measured in the Sudnuka crater series, that's what you see here on the map. That is this line here basically between Sillingerfell and Hagafell. This is where most of the eruptions have occurred. And from there you also see the map with the lava flows. From there the lava is flowing towards Swartsengi, testing the defense walls and breaching the defense walls over there. And it's running towards Grindavik and also testing the defense walls and breaching the defense walls. The lava carpets there have gotten higher and higher and higher with each eruption. So the lava is building layers on top of each other so that it has exceeded the height of the existing defense walls in many areas. So I always say Fraggle Rock, right? These absolute stunning great workers that keep working their dozers and their equipment all the time, they were rushing against that, keeping up with the height of the defense walls. But you can only increase them that much. You're reaching a limit of the height. So in Swartsengi and in Grindavik, they have already built a second wall of defense walls. Should the lava breach the first defense wall and flow, there's a second one that diverts the lava away from the infrastructure. New equipment has also arrived at Swartsengi so that they could try to cool the lava tongue again to keep it from advancing towards the power plant and the Blue Lagoon should the lava breach the defense wall again. So now they have big white hoses, and most important, they have pumps that are able to increase the water flow into these hoses. That equipment was ordered and it arrived. They will also later on use it for wildfires, but let's hope that this time that it really will work. So the number of these earthquakes, as I just said, in this area continues to increase. So something's going on there. The magma is doing something. Is it already moving there? That's the big questions. All these earthquakes are in the small range below the magnitude 2. That is normal for volcanic activity, right? We're not talking about something that just happened in Japan, the 7.1 earthquake. Check out the video on the end screen, by the way. They have issued an alert for a mega quake 9.0 or something like this, that they think it could happen within the next 7 days. The Prime Minister has canceled his trips abroad and says he's going to stay home for at least 7 days. So that is very concerning, and that is something completely new in history. That has never happened before. That video is in the end screen as well. So we're not waiting for a megaquake here in Iceland. What we're waiting for is a cluster earthquake swarm. So that tells us it's happening. Magma's on the move underground and it's ready to erupt. And depending on where it wants to erupt, if it wants to erupt in the Sutnuka crater series again, in a location where it has erupted last time, roads are already paved, doesn't have to go that far. So we will have very little warning time and a short period of clustered earthquakes. If it wants to travel further and threaten Grindavik, it has to go a longer way to get there. So we will probably see a longer lasting earthquake swarm because it has to travel further and open up tunnels to do that there. So we are seeing this steady increase in these earthquakes from day to day. Most of them are not only below 2, they are also below 1 in magnitude. And if we look at what has happened in the week from August 5th to today, August 9th, almost August 10th, we have seen almost 300 earthquakes in this region. So it is rumbling, and they're also saying the number of earthquakes has increased in the recent weeks. Then the Icelandic MET Office has also talked about the new deformation data and the model calculations that they have done, especially regarding the land rise over that magma chamber. Because if the magma chamber is filling up, of course it is expanding, and then you can see a difference. You can see the land is rising. So these model calculations show that the land rise, the magma accumulation underneath Swartsengi is still similar to the last few days. So they show that the signs are still continuing, showing us that the land rise is still increasing, that the magma pressure is still increasing. It did slow down a little bit, but it hasn't stopped. So there is still a little bit of elasticity left in that magma chamber to expand, but it's like blowing up a balloon with air. You will reach the point of maximum elasticity and then it will blow. And that's when the magma chamber will send the magma on its way. What the Met Office is saying, the trend that we're seeing now with everything that is happening, the earthquakes and the deformation measurements, that is a similar trend as it has happened in the weeks prior to the recent eruptions that we have seen in this area. So everything seems to be on track. We know that some scientists have said they think the activity in the Sutnuka crater series will end in summer. But it doesn't really look like that it does. They predicted with the end of the previous eruption that this would be the end at the end of August. But it looks like that towards the end of August, we're going to have another eruption. And they're even predicting that this eruption might start out even stronger than the last one, which would send more fast-flowing lava in the beginning towards the infrastructure, towards Grindavik and Swartsengi, depending on the location. So critical. So they have released an interesting graph here. So I want to show you the first picture. This is the location of the seismic activity in the area. So you see where that cluster swarm is located. It's basically, most of it is in the Sutnuka crater series, where we have seen most of the eruptions, and along that magma dike that has formed on November 10th. This 15-kilometer long magma intrusion that basically goes also through Grindavik, underneath Grindavik, and right into the sea. But we also still see this earthquake activity west of Grindavik and basically south of Mount Thorbjorn. So that is a little off of that magma dike. So Is there something going on? Is this a potential location for a new eruption? Well, we were suspecting that before the previous eruption started, and then it did start in the Sutnuka crater series again. So these earthquakes could be the result of just tensions in the area because that magma chamber is filling up, the land is rising, and that could be the reason why we see something there, but nobody really knows. There is great uncertainty. So what we're seeing here with the earthquakes, these are the earthquakes from June 3rd to August 9th, basically. And you see the earthquakes here on the map, but then I want to show you another graph here that shows the size of the earthquakes that we have seen. And there you can see the amount of earthquakes and the size has been increasing. And you might wonder why you see some negative magnitudes there in this chart. We've discussed this in a previous video. So that just indicates that some of the earthquakes have a very, very, very small seismic magnitude. So the magnitude scales are used to describe like earthquakes that are so small that they can be expressed in negative numbers. As we just said, most of them are below 1, or some others are below 2. But you see, what's important in this graph is that you see the intensity is increasing and the magnitudes are increasing. And then here's another bar graph that they show us. It shows the number of earthquakes per week. So this shows us pretty clearly that the numbers have been increasing and doubling almost. So this shows us that we had very low seismic activity during the last eruption that did last from May 29th to June 22nd. Of course, nothing was filling up, there was a clear flow path from the magma chamber towards the eruption site. The magma was flowing, so it did not have to grind a new way. No tensions were building up. That's why the earthquake activity was quite low, but now it has increased. So this is showing it quite clearly, and it's easy to understand what is happening there right now. So I'll definitely keep you updated about what's going on there, guys. The hazard map remains unchanged unless there's new developments. You see the map behind me. So guys, thanks for watching. Check out the videos in the end screen, and thanks for your support, guys. I'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye bye.